Great. Good evening. This is the call to order for the Wilmette Public Library District Board of Trustees regular meeting for Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. The time is now 6:30, and the meeting will begin. Our Secretary DiLorenzo is absent this evening, so Vice President O'Keefe will be our secretary this evening. Secretary O'Keefe, then may we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Trustee Cox. Here. Trustee DiLorenzo is absent. Trustee Nealon.
Here.
Trustee O'Keefe. Here. Trustee Sennett.
Here.
Trustee Summer.
Here.
And Trustee Fishman.
Here. Thank you. Our first order of business is the review and approval of the draft minutes of the May 21st, 2024 regular board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the May 21st, 2024 regular board meeting minutes as presented.
Thank you. Trustee Sennett has approved. And is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion? All right, then seeing none, may we have a
Certainly.
roll call, please?
Roll call, please. Trustee Cox.
Yes.
Trustee DiLorenzo is absent. Trustee Nealon.
Yes, I approve.
Trustee O'Keefe, yes. Trustee Sennett.
Yes.
Trustee Summer.
Yes.
And Trustee Fishman.
Yes, thank you. Motion carried. Meeting attendees who have signed the visitor or public comment registration form and who wish to address the Board of Trustees may do so here. Do we have anyone who would like to address the board? Okay, thank you. Seeing none. And we have no presentations this evening. And now it's time for the Treasurer's Report. Trustee Summer.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good evening. I should have a couple items. In May, 5 CDs were purchased for the Special Reserve Fund with rates ranging from 4.75 to 5.1%, with maturity dates from 18 months to 2 years. Also, the library received just over $80,000 in property taxes in May. Now that Sandra has been hired and has so quickly gotten up to speed, we have one final invoice to Sickage, which should be the final one. There might be some small charges during the audit process from the auditors reaching out to Sickage with questions of their accounting work. So thank you, Sandra. Doing a great job. There were no special reserve fund or liability fund expenditures in May. In May, there were checks to the Chalet as well as to Tovar Landscaping for $2,000. Chalet provides our green space landscaping, and Tovar, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, they provide our snow removal service. The invoice is for the total snow removal for the fiscal year. We're going to request that they have a little more punctual billing going forward. And lastly, there was a check to Comcast that was larger than previous months. It's usually $825 a month, and it was for a 3-month period. And I, of course, looked back over the 3 months, and it does represent the check for 3 months. So that's it. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the financials, checks, anything? All right.
Thank you. And we have a motion to approve the bills and salary check detail for May 2024.
I move approval of the bills and salaries check detail for May 2024 as presented.
Thank you. Trustee O'Keefe has given her approval. And may we have a second, please?
Go ahead.
I second.
All right. Thank you. Trustee Summer has seconded the motion to approve the bill.
Trustee Sennett did.
Sennett, I'm sorry.
Yep.
You are Summer. Hello. Move the S's away. Thank you, Trustee Sennett. We'll make note of that. Thank you. And is there any further discussion? Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Trustee Cox.
Yes.
Trustee DiLorenzo is absent. Trustee Nealon.
Yes.
Trustee O'Keefe, yes. Trustee Sennett.
Yes.
Trustee Summer.
Yes.
And Trustee Fishman.
Yes. Thank you. Our next agenda item is our review and reapproval of the following policies. And I'll read them. Policy 2, Library Administration, Appendix 2B, the roles of the Board of Library Trustees. Appendix 2C, the duties and responsibilities of trustees. Appendix 2D, Wilmette Public Library Trustees Ethics Statement. And Appendix 2E, the duties and responsibilities of the director. Director Austin, anything you'd like to add, or we're
Sure.
set with that? Okay.
All right,
As best you
so
can.
the reason this reapproval is in the packet, we're not proposing any changes to these policies, but as we discussed earlier this spring, the library is in the process of adopting a new style manual for our communications, and we're applying a new font set to the presentations of these documents, and we're preparing to post the entire policy manual on the website this summer, and we're going through that process of applying all these changes. The last time that these policies were reviewed and approved was back in 2019, so this is the oldest set of policies that we currently have on the table, and we wanted to get a fresh set of dates on these policies before we got them posted on the website. So are there any questions or comments about any of the content of the materials? Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
All right, so our goal is to get this posted yet this summer, and we'll let you know as soon as we do.
Very good. But we do need a motion to approve the proposed updates to the library policies. Do I need to read everything again?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. So is there a motion to approve, please?
I move to approval of the proposed updates to library policies, including the Policy 2, Library Administration, Appendix 2B, the roles of the Board of Library Trustees, Appendix 2C, the duties and responsibilities of trustees, Appendix 2D, Wilmette Public Library Trustees Ethics Statement, and Appendix 2E, the duties and responsibilities of the director, as presented.
Thank you. Trustee Nealon has motioned, and now we have would anyone like to second that, please?
I'll
Do we have a
second. I will
Okay,
second.
Trustee Summer, thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Of
Trustee
course.
O'Keefe?
Trustee Cox?
Yes.
Trustee DiLorenzo is absent. Trustee Nealon?
Yes.
Trustee O'Keefe? Yes. Trustee Sennett?
Yes.
Trustee Summer?
Yes.
And Trustee Fishman.
Yes, thank you. Motion passed. Now, our second action item is the annual budget for fiscal year 2024-25. And we will have Director Austin and Treasurer Summer
I'll
speak
let
on
you
behalf.
start.
Oh.
I'll let you start.
Okay, all right, so.
Please, thank you.
This process of the review of this budget began with two closely held meetings together this year. It was a pretty compressed process for the compilation of the budget. We had our first draft meeting back on May 3rd, and a second presentation of the budget at the regular meeting on May 21st. And then we had a second Finance Committee meeting on May 29th that included a closed session for the discussion of the personnel portion of the draft budget. This has been an unusual budget process this year for us. We're in a period of some extraordinary inflation. A number of our contracts, cost for goods and services have gone up, and staff did a really remarkable job in preparing for that May 3rd meeting this year by walking out a lot of those expenses in the budget and making some real hard decisions about the types of things that we were going to include in this budget, fully aware that we are living beyond our means and conducting deficit spending. As such, we made a lot of changes, and the only remaining update or increase to the draft policy for fiscal year 24-25 is a cost of living increase and the addition of 2 positions that are currently vacant in this year's proposed budget. So those were the substantial changes. And since it was initially proposed, we did go back and we were able to walk out some additional expenses as well. And I believe what we have before us this evening is staff's best effort to see continuity of the existing services as well as the commensurate increases for staff for this coming fiscal year.
Thank you. Trustee Summer?
Yep.
Or would you like to go, or would
Does anybody else have any comments? I'll go last, but if anybody else has any comments or. And if not, then I will.
Well, I do.
Okay.
I do, yes. I have a few notes prepared. The board has had numerous budget discussions during the past month or so, and we all take our board responsibilities seriously and earnestly. We currently are considering the deficit spending, as Director Austin mentioned, and we take this step with great trepidation. And yet, however, to continue to bring the highest level of service and resources to our Wilmette and Kenilworth communities, this budget is slated to have expenses that exceed income. As costs rise for everyone, the library is not immune to expenses that must meet the needs of our educated and informed community. The Wilmette Public Library District continues to deliver and anticipate the resources for a 21st century library. But these resources do come with a price tag. I believe that both the board and the director strives to prepare a balanced budget, and we can all agree that that is important. In the past, the library's levy has been flat or stable, and this has saved Wilmette taxpayers a considerable amount of money. But the budget has two sides, revenue and expenses, and we know that fixed costs are often out of control of this governing body. The board greatly appreciates our dedicated, competent, and valued staff who do their best to contribute to making the Wilmette Public Library District a 5-star library nationwide. Therefore, I'd like to say that I am in support of the budget and agree that we need to establish priorities to realign and balance the revenues and expenditures to ensure a healthy financial future for the library. Thank you. Okay,
I can
Trustee
do my
Summer?
little spiel.
Okay.
I would say, I'm going to say, just throw out some numbers. The current year's budgeted deficit of $537,000, but our actual is going to be significantly less, of $370,000.
Tracy, can you?
Oh,
use the
sorry,
mic? Thank
sorry,
you.
yep. So we budgeted this current year of $537,000 deficit, but we're actually going to come in significantly less at 370-ish. Year's not over. In addition, the deficit budgeted next year is $355,000, which also is lower than what we will actually receive this year. So with the many discussions, and I'll reiterate what Joan said, I'm all for a balanced budget, and I really appreciate the direction that we are going. The fact that we are doing what we can to raise our revenues and doing what we can to hold our expenses as tight as we can and moving in the right direction. So I would agree with Joan. I support the budget also, and I do appreciate all the work that the staff and Anthony have done to continue to bring that down. And we've had a lot of discussions about, the other thing I want to say, which I mentioned in the Finance Committee meeting, is I know we have a couple open positions, and as the year progresses, I'm hoping you're able to fill those positions. But if for some reason that takes a little extra time, that those funds are continued to held in reserve and any unspent funds are applied towards a lower deficit. Did I say that clearly?
You
You
did,
did.
very
Okay.
well put. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anything else that, this is the
All right.
time for?
Just
Very well,
that
thank you.
the board and the director definitely put in the time, as well as all the staff, to look at this budget, rework the budget, and keeping in mind that we do recognize and appreciate our staff and administration at the library. So thank you for all your efforts. Thank you for all your efforts, and I am in agreement with this budget.
Okay, thank you. Well said. All right, then is there a motion to approve the annual budget for the fiscal year 24-25?
Is that number correct on the?
Yes.
Okay. I move approval of the Wilmette Public Library District Annual General Operating Budget for fiscal year 2024-2025, totaling $6,602,918 as presented.
Thank you, Trustee O'Keefe. Is there a second, please?
I can second.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Summer. Therefore, Secretary, well, not Secretary, excuse me.
No problem. Roll call?
Roll call, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes,
Trustee Cox?
Yes.
Yes. Trustee DiLorenzo is absent. Trustee Nealon?
Yes.
Trustee O'Keefe, yes. Trustee Senate?
Yes.
Trustee Summer?
Yes.
Trustee Fishman?
Yes. Thank you very much. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. Moving on, we now have our discussion items of our strategic facility plan space needs assessment.
All right,
Thank
so I don't have a lot of detail to provide from the last update that I provided to you in May, but there's actually been a substantial amount of work that's been done by our consultants on the project in the space between those meetings. So what Joe is currently working on for us, our architect Joe Huberty with Ingberg Anderson, is he's first done a look back at our capital reserve study that we conducted back in 2020, which is to look at all of the fixed assets of our building to determine which items are wearing, which items need to be replaced, are in good repair, et cetera, and looking for opportunity costs to see if there's any of those items that affiliate with the potential renovation of the lower level and first floor. So he's indexing those items, looking at current costs for replacements of those systems, and seeing if they might potentially relate to any of the scope that we're going to be potentially talking about with this project. And he's going to be sharing that information with us here shortly. So that's a big part of the work that his team's been working on. On May 30th, he and his interior design team came and toured the facility and took notes about a number of assets within the building that relate to interior furnishings, whether it's the range of shelving that we have throughout the library. If you take a closer look at them, there's quite a number of generations of shelving that we have. They took inventory of the range of seating options that we have for the public, whether it's the study tables or upholstered furnishings, a whole range of options. And he also wanted us to identify if there were any things that were sacred to the library that we felt that we needed to preserve, either for aesthetic purposes or for functional purposes, so that he could include those for preservation, or if there were some items that potentially could be demoed in that project. So with that inventory, he's able to do a little bit more with his cost estimates related to the actual construction, and then incorporate the more furnishing elements to that. And he anticipates that he'll be able to share with us a menu of options for the range of types of topics that we're going to be talking about with this renovation project. He's thinking that we're going to look at sort of a high, mid, and low cost set of options for us, with a menu of different projects that would be associated with this. On the low end, there's probably a small number of things that we could accomplish for as little as $1 million on this project. On the high end, it's probably approaching close to $6 million at this point for the range of things that we've already identified as topics we may need to discuss. With the capital reserve items, I think, still not included in that total. So you can see there's quite a range, and it's going to be up to us, and when we do our community engagement, to understand what the priorities are and make some determinations from there. So very soon, we're going to start seeing these numbers and be able to start making some decisions. Meanwhile, he's been doing some peer and trending data in comparing our library with our identified peers, as well as some national communities that affiliate closely with us, to determine, are we providing the same range of services? Are there some service models or even collection sizes that we need to benchmark against for best practice purposes? And as I indicated a little bit in my director's report this month, you'll see that the library collection size at Wilmette has exceeded the capacity of our building. We've talked about this a number of times. There's not enough space in this building for us to accomplish all the needs that we have currently, whether it's for providing more study room spaces, more places to gather, more wide open spaces, places to sit, office space for the staff. We can't accomplish all of those things and still have a collection of the size that we have for the community that we have. So staff is going to have to make some difficult decisions here soon in conducting their own analysis relative to statistics and other data to determine what the appropriate size of the collection is going to be. And I've set some priority goals for us for the summer and for this fiscal year. There will be impacts on the budget as we talk about this here in the future too. You'll see we did reduce the budget ever so slightly for the physical collections this year, and I anticipate that we will likely see some further reductions to that in years forward as the collection size is reduced. That said, staff will need to make some priority decisions, as I said, about how we're going to collect and curate our collections, how we will present them, what sort of display furnishings that we're going to provide for them. Ultimately, a service model will be developed around how we collect our collections. So there's a lot that's baked into that, and it's a bigger conversation for the staff, and we're going to start whittling away at that process this year, and it will be something that we'll grow into a little bit over time. The goal is to not make that so impactful for the public. Ideally, the public wouldn't notice. We conduct weeding all the time. There's always materials that the library is purchasing and refreshing. And the items that move on are items that have less utility, have worn, meet certain criteria for deselection, and there are probably a number of items in our collection right now that are clearly eligible for deselection, and they're obscuring the more current topics that may be of immediate need to the community, and we want to make sure that those really popular items are able to shine on the shelves. So again, this is where this project is at right now, and I hope to have some more information to share with you here very shortly. The core team should be meeting here, I would anticipate, within the next 4 weeks. So on the trustee side, that's Joan and Marianne, so we'll be in touch with you, as well as members of the leadership team who are affiliated with that. And then from there, I imagine we'll be scheduling some time to do some community engagement around these topics, and we'll have a lot more information to share here shortly.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
When, I appreciate they're looking at the long-term capital study, and I think that's a great thing to do. Will they, as they prepare and put documents together, have that separately budgeted, itemized, so we can kind of see, like maybe in the capital study it was $2 million or $1 million, throw a number out, and they can say by grouping this together, this now will cost $500,000 because we are, I think that's a very helpful way for us to evaluate doing it separately versus packaging it.
Right.
Sort of economy of scale.
Exactly.
If they're doing electrical work to move some things around, it only makes sense to
Yes.
complete those.
And I think it's helpful to see that
See
as a
that.
separate item. Yeah.
And I think it's appropriate for me to mention, too, that in our budget materials this evening, too, there is, from our long-range study that we typically do in the fall every year with PMA, there is a separate sheet that relates to the Special Reserve Fund that has plotted out dates all the way up to fiscal year 40 that itemize some expenses that we have year over year. And that's exactly what Trustee Summer is referencing, that there are some items that are in there. And obviously there may be some cost escalation in 2040 versus today. And there is a formula that our architect has factored into that contributes to those numbers. But if we already have skilled trades engaged on a project like this, we may be able to, as you say, achieve some other savings and make that decision at that time.
Yep.
So, yep, we'll look at that.
Great. Thank you. That's good. Always looking to save a buck.
That's right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Do
Any
that,
other?
You do that at home, you do it here.
Any other questions or comments about the space needs assessment?
Look forward
Okay.
to updates. Thank you. Director's report, which you may
Yeah, I'm going to take a sip of water.
better. Good, good. Thank you.
Just a little hoarse right now. Okay. I've actually got a fair bit that I want to share with you because it was a pretty busy month for us. Physical circulation has continued its recent pattern in May and making a strong showing on par with our monthly average for circulation over this fiscal year, with over 50,000 items that were checked out this month. Our digital circulation continues its exponential boom, with another record high for ebook checkouts this month, as well as the second highest month ever for Hoopla. Digital circulation accounts for over 30% of our circulation to date. Our door counts are also remarkable and increasing overall as we serve over 650 users each day. We are a little off that mark from 2019, but this is the pattern that we're seeing these days. We welcomed just short of 200 new patrons in May. It's always exciting. And in the last week of May, everyone in our community received our summer newsletter, rather. This is a 16-page issue which highlights summer reading with a 2-page spread right up here at the front. First time that we've put it right up there at the front. And this was a huge project there's a lot of content in there, lots and lots of programs. A real big project for our communications and engagement team, and they did a fantastic job putting this project together over the course of May and April. There's a lot of design and editing that goes into this, and the team that's comprised of Sarah Beth Brown, Sarah Rose, and Lydia Fair did a fantastic job of putting this together. And it arrived just in time to help us promote our big Summer Reading Club kickoff concerts that happened on June 6th and 7th. But I'm not going to talk about those this month. I'll tell you a little bit more about that next month, because I got a lot to share here tonight. In order in my collection, or in my report, I'll just start with collections. The shelving team was able to backshift our feature film collection and make room for all of the nonfiction videos that have historically lived on the lower level of the library. Our facilities assistant manager, Aaron Olson, put new shelving up where the CDs were previously located, and we brought all the nonfiction videos up. We also were able to fit the great courses where some of the audiobooks were located. And this was all accomplished because the adult services team did a very fantastic job weeding the collections to make room for all of this. So all of our audiovisual, except for the latest DVDs, are located now in the media room. We know, as we talk about the renovation, that might not be the ultimate home for our media, but right now they're all unified in one spot. We're really excited about that. We've got some signage that's on its way, and there's signage on the lower level directing people upstairs to find that media there. In the Library of Things collection, we added 2 outdoor movie kits this month with projectors and screens. And Jessica Thompson, our technical services manager, has been learning about and selecting board games for the Library of Things collection with our local game shop, Heroes and Heroines. The technical services team has been busy providing collection data for managers and selectors in anticipation of this weeding project that we just discussed. And there's a lot of activity going on behind the scenes related to this, including a forthcoming selectors meeting where we're going to be talking more about that project. On the digital side of things, at the Rails Electronic Subscription Managers meeting on May 30th, our Digital and Maker Services Manager, Lauren Kelly, learned that the Illinois State database contract through Rails while it has not been officially announced, has engaged with EBSCO and is going to be offering a significant upgrade in the number of databases that we can offer to our community for free. Well, through state funding, but it's to no additional cost to libraries throughout the state, which is outstanding. There were a few databases there that are part of our collection already, and those duplicates we were able to just discontinue and save some costs related with those. The only thing that was currently with EBSCO that we weren't able to renew was Consumer Reports, so we're still going to pay for that one separately because that's one of our most popular databases. But otherwise, this new state contract, which should go into effect here in July, is going to be a real improvement for the services that we provide for researchers. May is always an exciting time at the library, as in addition to an active roster of ongoing programs and services, we prepare for 2 key transitions marked by the end of the traditional school year, and that's exam season and the early promotion of the summer reading clubs. So anyone who visited the library at the end of May discovered that high school students studying for exams were tucked into every corner of the library, and public service and safety staff worked to set a tone of welcoming, assisting with resources, providing technology and spaces. This auditorium, the small meeting room, youth program room, and the lower level project rooms were converted into open study spaces for drop-in use to offer additional collaboration areas. So the team did a fantastic job of accommodating those students. I've got a lot written here from the youth services team, and I think I'm gonna not read all this, or I'm gonna lose my voice by the end of this. But the bottom line is that across all of our public service departments, whether it was primarily the youth services team, our teen services librarian, our digital maker services librarian. Multiple staff across all departments attended every school in our community and made presentations about our summer reading program and reached 3,360 students. If you have a student in any of these schools, it is impossible that they would not have found out about the summer reading clubs at the library. This was tremendous engagement. We reached students that we've never reached before. We did promotion to 7th graders, which was a huge reach for us, reaching 400 junior high students. We also promoted at Sears School. It was just a really remarkable month of engagement for our librarians. So really proud of all the work that they did, and there's some great pictures that Andrea provided in her report showing the results of all that engagement. So check that out. We also had a cross-departmental engagement for the first time when the Wilmette Library tabled at the village's Human Relations Commission's Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month Festival. That's a mouthful. Etty Berland, our school engagement librarian, Angie McCarver, our circulation assistant, and Sabrina Neasy from Digital Maker Services shared library resources, information about the studio, including free sewing kits, activities, and crafts, and brought many books to check out. The library was invited to attend this program by the village's Human Relations Commission after hearing about the success of our Lunar New Year program celebration. And we had over 90 people stop at the table at that event. So that was a big success, and we're happy to be doing that kind of outreach engagement. Speaking of outreach, staff completed 50 deliveries of library materials to residents at Malincrot, Mather Senior Living, and independent living residences. This large number was likely due to the extra delivery date in May because we had a long month. But it also was probably due to the fact that we had that long holiday and a lot of folks wanted to stock up. But a big month of deliveries for Homebound. I do want to call your attention as we approved some additional digitization with this budget this evening. On pages 12 and 13 of my report, there's quite a lot of detail about the work of our genealogy and local history librarian Eva Ann Johnson and her work with the Illinois State History Records Advisory Board and her efforts to promote and support digitization and archival projects throughout Illinois, including an article that she was featured in there. One of our most popular programs this month was a virtual program. It was called Naming Chicago Neighborhoods with the Chicago History Museum. We had over 60 patrons that joined us on Zoom, including 10 patrons who watched together from an assisted living community in Glenview. And the library hosted 5 very well-attended programs for our Focus on Japan Cultural Series in May. Most of them here in this room, including a really awesome Koto program that I was thrilled to participate to join. I love the Koto; it was really pretty. And the adult services team resumed doing curation of related books and media to those program and events at the tables in the back of the room, and that was really popular. So we're really happy to have that cross-departmental partnership. The studio team had 319 reference interactions in their studio space, including 49 studio tours, and patrons are overwhelmingly positive about the space. And as you can see in Lauren's report, there's a high rate of engagement and a lot of activity going on there. I want to give a shout out to the IT team this month. They completed our annual PCI compliance. They conducted an update of our QuickBooks installation, which is great for our new finance manager. They helped facilitate the implementation of our Schedule 3W software. This is a system that's going to allow the library to radically evaluate and consolidate all of the various schedules that we have here. This project was spearheaded by Adult Services Manager Kathleen Blair. I'm really excited to see how this goes. We have schedules that are managed in a number of different platforms. This will unify them all and will help us to keep track of our most important and most expensive asset, our staff. The IT and facilities staff are working collaboratively on implementing some software to develop a ticketing system, which will help them to manage their workflows. We're really excited about this. It also has an asset management tool so that they can track the work that they do with their various systems and to keep track of where they are. Finally, the facilities staff conducted some window replacements. Some of the original windows on the curtain wall at the entrance of the library have needed to be replaced each year, and we completed some of that work, as well as a lot of work on our grounds this month. The tree trimming project really looks beautiful and has revitalized a number of our trees that have been having some challenges the last couple of years. Finally, the last thing I wanted to mention is that our youth services librarian, Sarah Jo Zaharako, was promoted with a new title to Community Engagement Librarian, effective May 12th. She's still in the Youth Services Department, but in this newly developed role, Sarah Jo will build and cultivate partnerships with community members, social service agencies, and equity-focused organizations to infuse equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility into our programs, resources, and events. Sarah Jo has already been doing this, obviously. She has spearheaded numerous initiatives to ensure that our library is a welcoming and accommodating space for all, such as her popular Let's Learn Together program, as well as the Meet Your Library welcome visits, and so on. So we're really happy to have her in her new role. That concludes my abbreviated summary of my report. Are there any items that you would like to pull or ask questions about?
Well, I did
Okay.
attend that Thursday night kickoff of the adult summer reading program, and it really was joyous. It was so fun, and there were all ages, so thankfully no one said, oh, to the little ones, you can't come. So it was great fun. The music was lively, and people were dancing. And especially, I want to say, I thought, this outdoor renovation was really made for events like this. It was wonderful. The expanse of the lawn, the benches, people being able to come and kick off their shoes, and it was really a lot of fun. And the fun thing was they had that icy Slurpee type machine truck there.
Yeah.
So that was great fun. A little sweet for my taste, but it was fun nonetheless, and everybody had one. So people brought dinner, and it was really great. So thank you to the staff, and again, it was a joyous event. I didn't
Thank you
get
to the Friends. The Friends sponsored the event.
and the
so,
Friends,
yes.
right,
Yep.
right. That was really delightful. Thank you, right, to the Friends. I didn't make it to the children's reading program, but I'm sure it was a beautiful night, and this Slurpee machine was, or a truck was there. Kona, thank you. I'm not aware of that, but I'm sure that was a huge hit. So again, 2 nights of a lot of fun sponsored by the Friends, and we really appreciate their participation on that. So great fun. And our outdoor, to your point, our outdoor area looked lovely. It was full and lush and really green. So a lot of fun. Thank you to staff.
Thanks.
Any other comments? Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Austin. All right. Now, any committee reports? Trustee Nealon, anything to
I believe
this point?
Director Austin has already summarized what we have.
Yeah, I did send around via email communications from ILA and Rails. There are some subscriptions. If you're interested, there are weekly distributions from both of those, and that's where we call the information that we share with you each month. I didn't note anything in particular for this evening, but if you're interested in keeping track of that information, you've got access to that now, too.
Thank you. Good. We had some great trustee summer. You mentioned something from the communication folder that.
It was just a media thing that someone had mentioned that I had heard of.
Oh,
It's
good.
just a suggestion.
Good. Okay, that's being distributed. Thank you. And Director Austin, you and staff, I presume, will be attending the ALA meeting in San Diego end of
Yes.
this month?
Yep, so
Well-
I will be out next week and will be joined, oh gosh, I'm totally spacing right now who's joining me. So Etty Berland and John Amundsen will be also joining us in San Diego, so we got good representation
Kathleen, yeah,
from the
wonderful.
departments. Yep.
And John. Good. Thank you. Any new business?
I just have a question. I don't know if this is appropriate. I sent an email regarding the July meeting. Is this appropriate to ask the question
Sure,
here?
go for it.
Who will be able to attend the July meeting? All right, there we go.
We have a quorum?
And I
Good.
will prepare the report, but I will likely not be here. But I will
Okay.
prepare the report, go through the financials, and provide them to Mary Ann to do the presentation.
Great.
Great, thank
Okay,
you very
good.
much.
Thank you for checking in on that. Great. Seeing nothing else on our agenda, then I move that the board adjourn this meeting. It is now 7:10, and a voice vote is acceptable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Very good. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
It was really efficient. Wow.
We did a lot of work, but, before the meeting. Oh, yeah, turn off your mic.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.